Welcome, everybody. Hello. Thanks for being here. Coming at you live from New York. This is Spirit Matters, your daily spiritual check-in with the Bhakti Center. We are here just to make sure you're doing okay. If you're listening, wherever you are, close your eyes and take a deep breath. Unless you're driving, keep your eyes on the road. But stop washing the dishes. Stop putting the kids to bed. Stop arguing with your spouse or your significant other. Stop folding the laundry. Stop jogging and just pause, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and remind yourself that you're okay. You got this. I'm flying solo today. Kishore Chandra and Chitta Gopi are not able to be here with us. Kimberly in our chat here said, "You got this," capital letters DIS. And that's my message to all of you, that we're here just to check in with each other. If you needed a little something, I was supposed to, but I stopped because I've been struggling with motivation to do anything new these days. And so I started and stopped because I'm really good at starting things and I'm really good at quitting things. I'm realizing as the year begins, the things that I'm good at, and those are two of them. But this thing, positive intelligence, which is where you learn about, we all have these saboteurs, these parts of ourselves that sabotage. We are our own worst enemy at times. Anybody ever feel that way? Own worst enemy? Kimberly, you got that? Yep, shaking the head. We got our own worst enemy at times, and each of us have many of us have different types of our own worst enemies. You know, whether it's the controller, whether it's the people pleaser, whether it's the hyper vigilant part of ourselves, or whether it's the whatever. We all have a certain type of judge that lives inside of us, and so we have these saboteurs that sabotage ourselves. And the idea is to get out of the saboteur mind into what he calls the sage mind. The sage, I don't know if you ever read Bhagavad Gita, but he has this idea of a sage, which is the more grounded, elevated part of ourselves that can think more clearly, that judges things less harshly. And just one of the ways that you do that is you have to flex your mental muscles. You flex your mental muscles by regularly taking time out of your day to focus deeply on one sensual sensation. So it might be your breath, it might be your physical touch, by just bringing your fingers together and just almost like with such care and attention that you can feel the ridges on your fingertips, or to just close your eyes and to pay attention to the most distant sound you can hear, or the closest sound you can hear, or and so he has these, and you just do it for a minute or two, just 1 or 2 minutes. And the idea is that it just kind of like, my dog trainer said this. We never really formally had a dog trainer, but I have a friend who trains dogs, and we asked her a couple questions when my wife and I got our puppy at the beginning of 2020, right before the pandemic. And they said that, like, sometimes that she warned us of what's called the bewitching hour, which is like the dusk hour for animals, and specifically like new puppies as they're growing through adolescence. Our son's like about a teen. Our puppy's like in his young 20s now. He's about to turn 3 in human years, which is 21 in dog years, so they say. I don't know how they figured out that calculation, but that's what they tell us. Because we just believe. We are in the business of believing what people tell us. And so they said that they sometimes will get so like excited or so like revved up that like it's impossible, like they won't get worn out. You have to almost kind of like do something to like short the circuit, like walk around in a circle with them, or do, like, they get so revved up, they're not like angry, they're not upset, they're not scared, they're just like, it's like when a child is just overloaded on sugar. It's not like there's nothing that's going, and then they pass out because they're actually tired. There's nothing that's going to actually like calm them down, other than just like the brain needs like a moment to like pause and reset. And so sometimes we get so overwhelmed with fear, with worry, with anxiety, like no amount of talking it through or reason or logic, we just need to like take a moment back and reset. And so these moments of just like focusing on one physical sensation gives us the opportunity to just reset our mind and take us and like disrupt the loop, basically, like disrupt the loop about whatever it is that I have going on, that my mind is focusing on overdrive, whether it's depressive or aggressive or anxious or judgmental or, you know, whatever it might be. So all that to say, that's my long-winded introduction. That's what this podcast is. We're here to interrupt the loop, to remind you that you're okay, to remind you that you're loved, to remind you that we're here. The Bhakti Center is here. You're here. Krishna's here. And we remind ourselves by reading the Bhagavad Gita every day. If you're new and you haven't heard of that before, get with the program. No, it's okay. The Bhagavad Gita we read every day, which is this book of spiritual literature, which is Arjuna. He needed to disrupt the loop. Mind was on overdrive and judging his circumstances and feeling like a failure and overwhelmed with anxiety and needed a little love. He needed a Spirit Matters check-in. So that's what we're doing, and that's why we're here. And we're gonna keep doing it, right? Kimberly, I reach out to Kimberly now because she's next in command in terms of just to say like, yep, you're doing good. Keep on going. Thanks. Where did we leave off yesterday? I was looking at the title for yesterday's podcast, and in the notes, Kimberly put, spoiler alert, it never works out materially. And then she made a note, is this okay title? Feel free to change it. Smiley face emoji. And maybe I was wondering, she's never put that before. And maybe she thinks I'm checking for the first time, but maybe she's worried that that's too negative. Was that your worry?
Yeah, I thought it would be too intense for a title.
Life never works out ever. So stop trying. I was thinking about that yesterday. We put the spoiler, it never works out. It never works out materially. It never does. It never works out materially for anybody else. There's always we would say there's always a little sand in the sweet rice. Sweet rice is like a dessert. It's like the rice pudding you can take by your favorite ahimsa or milk or non-dairy milk. You boil it down and it becomes sweet, and you add rice and it becomes like this, and sugar, and it becomes this rice pudding. And it's the idea of like a little sand in it. Like if you just, it's like you can have a whole pot of something, but you just sprinkle a little bit of sand in it, and it just like it ruins the whole experience, even though it's just a little bit of sand. And it just kind of, it doesn't like it just kind of doesn't completely ruin it, but it's just like it's a little grainy and you can't quite enjoy it. And so like the material world always has a little sand in the sweet rice, a little bit of that feeling of just like things just aren't quite right. And I say that some of the notes that Kimberly wrote yesterday, spiritual life isn't having all the edges smooth out of things or things become easy, struggle free. Spiritual life is navigating through the ups and downs with tools that inspire growth. Really well put. Nice way to put that. And the reason I say that is because I'm not here to ruin your day, and I'm not here to just like rain on your parade, but I'm here to remind you that it's not you. It's not you. It's not that you have failed at life. It's not that God is punishing you. It's not that things never work out for you. It's the climate of the environment that we're in. It's the nature of the material world. Dukkhalayam ashashvatam is a verse that comes up later in the Gita. It says every living being, from the ant up to the highest living beings, experience a life of suffering. It's one of the 4 tenets of Buddhism, like life is suffering and how to get out of suffering. And I think that a realistic view of life is not necessarily a pessimistic one, but that there is happiness, there is joy, there is connection. It's just not normally in the places that we think we found it. And if I spend my whole life thinking that my life is supposed to be different, or that I suck, or that life sucks, or that I must be doing something wrong, then we'll never get out of it. We will never get out of it. We will keep ourselves stuck. And I think that came up in the context of Bhagavad Gita, verse 33, where Krishna is talking about the idea of repression and the idea of thinking I have to deny myself. Spiritual life is less about self-denial and more about self-discovery, shifting from self-denial to self-discovery. And we discover ourselves by self-awareness. We discover ourselves through a fearless process of self-awareness. The verse we read yesterday, and even a man, and we're using man in the sense of like mankind. So we've got, male pronouns here, but insert your appropriate his, her, they, it pronouns accordingly. Even a man of knowledge acting according to his own nature. Even a man of knowledge acts according to his own nature. For everyone follows the nature he has acquired from the three modes. Even a person of knowledge, like even somebody spiritually enlightened, doesn't give up their still continues to engage in the world according to their own nature. What can repression accomplish? Next verse. There are principles to regulate attachment and aversion pertaining to the senses and their objects. One should not come under the control of such attachment and aversion because they're stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. Okay, pause. Attachment and aversion, flip sides of the same coin. I love it. I hate it. Both forms of obsession. I hate him so much. Why do you keep talking about him? We should just leave me alone. Well, maybe you should leave them alone by stop thinking about them so much. Attachment and aversion are flip sides of the same coin of obsession. And I was looking at the chat for a second. And the idea that I have to get rid of the idea that I'm supposed to be a certain type of someone at a level of success. So I'm an artist. It's let me put it this way. I like to play music. I don't play a lot of music these days. I used to play a lot more music. Music was like my religion before I came into spiritual life as I know it today. I wrote a love song to my guitar when I was 18 years old, 17 years old. Because she was my best friend. He was my best friend. I didn't quite ask it how it liked to be referred to, but it was my best friend. And we spent a lot of time together. And I always thought that if I were to get married or join any religious or spiritual group, then they'd have to go through my guitar. And I love to write music, and instead of journaling, I would write songs, and that was kind of my like connection to God. I would kind of write prayers in the form of songs, and then like I would sing those songs, and people would be like, "I thought this was gonna be like a cheery song about like your girlfriend or something," but it was just like, "God, where are you, and will you ever find me?" And like in a song. So anyways, I would write these songs, and and I feel like I have some sort of natural musical inclination and ability. I'm not like let's see, I'm not Marvioso. I'm not an artistic savant. I don't have some like incredible beyond ability, but I pick up music fairly easily, and I did well, and I played a lot. And then then I became a monk, and I moved into an ashram, and I gave all that up, and I didn't give it up, but I just put it aside, and I stopped playing guitar specifically for a number of years. And then I was able to kind of dovetail that propensity into kirtan, and I do a little kirtan, and that took me a little while to kind of get into because of again, ego gets in the way. ego gets in the way. It's like we teach this when we lead kirtan trainings. Kishore Chandra and I have led a lot of kirtan trainings together. And sometimes it's like, I only want to lead a kirtan if I'm going to give people the most transformative spiritual experience of their life, you know? And it's like, no, lead the kirtan because that's your service in this moment. And whether it's the most amazing thing in the world, whether people get bored from it, whether, whatever, it's like my job isn't to worry about the experience that people have in the other. I mean, like I do worry to the extent that like I'm trying to perform a service and therefore I'm trying to be the best that I can. And it's not like I don't care how it sounds, but I try my best. But at the end of the day, my duty, my responsibility to myself, to God, and to others is to show up the way that I am and the best that I can be. It's not to be the best, to lead the best kirtan ever. It's not to be the best musician in the world. It's simply to try my best and to show up. And so after not playing music as much for so long, it's like I pick up the guitar and it's hard because it's just like, oh, I've forgotten so much and I'm not as good as I was or how much I want to be. And so it's like, if I'm not going to be this kick-ass, amazing guitar player, can I say kick-ass? Is that all right? Is this a family show? This kick-ass guitar player, then might as well just quit and give up, right? So that's an example. It's a small example. But the idea of like, if I can't be amazing at something, if I can't impress people, I think also today, like on social media, if it doesn't get like a certain amount of likes or attention, like why did I even post that? I shouldn't have even posted that. Nobody liked it. And it's just like, that's not the point. The point is you've been given a certain nature in this world. You're an artist, you're a speaker, you're a leader, you're a caregiver, you are a whatever it might be. And you can find God in 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 the carrying out of the gifts that she have given you. You just have to get rid of the attachment and aversion of it looking a certain way. And you take that and you offer it back up. This is my offering. And every movement, every activity, every expression of yourself can become a waking meditation that this is simply, this is not for me. There's this phrase, I got to look it up here. Something like, there's a phrase, Idam Krishna, something, I forget it. They say it in phrases. Idam Shri Krishna. Do you know what it is, Sundarananda Prabhu? Idam Shri Krishna near Mama. Something like, this is for Krishna, it's not for me. I can't remember it. Something like kind of simple. But there's a phrase that they say that in Sanskrit, Idam Shri Krishna near Mama, something. I'm just mumbling phrases now, sounding like an idiot. What is it, Sunanan? You're coming in warbly.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. I think you say like at the end of every paper, offering something. Idam Indraya, Idam Nama. Nothing belongs to me.
Idam Nama. This is for Krishna. It's not for me. And so I think that mood, that understanding of my life ultimately becomes an offering. When my life becomes an offering, then in order for my life to become an offering, I have to remove myself from that attachment and aversion to the praise, aversion of the criticism, attachment to the success, aversion of the failures, and this steadiness of mind to keep on going, to keep showing up each day, no matter how grand or small it may seem or feel. Because again, as we discussed yesterday and where we let off, things never work out materially. It's never going to be as amazing. Or, I'm 38 years old. I had to think about that for a second. I'm 38 years old. And I'm starting to be like, I remember when I was a kid and we'd watch the TV, and my parents would or my older relatives would look at the TV, and it'd be like an Academy Award, and like somebody would get like a Lifetime Achievement Award, and they'd be like, oh God, that person looks so old. And I think they've always been old, because I've only known them since they were old, like actors or actresses or singers or whatever it might be. And now I'm in that place where it's like somebody who was like a young, actor or actress or somebody or a celebrity when I was a kid is now like old, and I'm just like, how did they get old? And I'm like starting to see that like nobody knows who certain people are. Jack Nicholson, like how many movies is he in today? Do you even know who that is, Kimberly?
No idea.
Kimberly's shaking her head. She doesn't even know who Jack Nicholson is. Pasha, she's got a laugh emoji. Do you know who Jack Nicholson is? Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Nobody even know. Nope. Pasha doesn't. Lane, your partner knows. And so like people don't even know who this person is. And when I was growing up, it was just like he was the thing, he was just like the star, and he was the man. And just as an example, and so, the reality is that no matter who we are and where we're at, things take its cycle in the material world. The loop gets closed at every and for everyone. All the pieces go back in the box, and we start to get old, or we start to get less popular, or we start to become less relevant, or whatever it might feel. When we feel that all the things in life that we've worked so hard for start slipping away for us, just remember it was never mine in the first place. And my job isn't to hold on to things as tightly as I can. My job isn't to be perfect. My job is simply to show up with what Krishna's given me and offer it back up in a way that reminds me of that in each moment as best as I can. That's all I got. Everyone's going to be walking away looking up. Now everyone's typing in Jack Nicholson movies in the chat. As good as it gets. That was one of his magnum opuses, even though it was in his later years. But what are we walking away with today, Kimberly? Did anything I say make sense? She's like, you lost me at Jack Nicholson.
No, it all made sense. Thanks, Ayal. We're taking away that we can disrupt the loop, that the material world always has a little sand in the sweet rice. Spiritual life is about self-discovery through the fearless process of self-awareness. Our responsibility is to try our best and show up. And when we remove ourselves from the attachment and aversion, our life can become an offering.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. What I'm taking away is just this I've usually gauge whether or not something is quote unquote worth it based off of what I think it's going to do for me. And I think that it gets in my way sometimes because I can paralyze myself by never end up doing anything because I get too spiritual on my quote unquote spiritual and philosophical myself because nothing's worth it, because nothing ever works out. But just remind myself that that's not the point. That's not the point. The point is for me to just show up and see what Krishna has in store with today, with my life, and to be open to that, to be open to miracles by showing up as best I can each day. And I encourage you to keep being you and take whatever was of use for you today and bring it with you into life and leave the rest if there was nothing. But we love you guys and we appreciate you. Bhakti Center announcements. Dana K is reminding me. Bhakti Center announcements. Go to bhakticenter.org and check out what we got going on. My wife is starting an Ayurveda training, 100-hour, 300-hour Ayurveda training at the Bhakti Center, online and in person. We have community groups starting. I'm starting a community group, an online men's group, Wednesdays, 10 a.m. starting in February, and an in-person beginning Bhakti group starting in February as well. Kishore is doing an online Gita course, exploring the Gita. It's like a 12 or 16-week exploration through the Gita where you can study it more deeply if you have questions in a closed group of people. Gita courses, community groups, Ayurveda trainings, India pilgrimages. Check it all out. We'd love to have you. Okay, everybody, bhakticenter.org. Check it out. Be with us. I'm just throwing out catchphrases. My mind is just throwing out words and phrases, hoping that some of them sound trendy. We love you. May the Lord be with you and also with you. We love you guys. Please be well, take care, and we will see you next time.